Mother-in-law from hell. That probably is a good way to describe Donna Adelson if you're on her bad side. She's now, of course, being charged with conspiracy, first-degree murder of her son and former son-in-law after his death several years back, just a few weeks after Charlie Adelson, her son, also convicted on those very same charges. How deep does this go? I think is one of the big questions. How much control did mom have over her children, and how much of a ringleader was she for something like this to take place? Joining me to discuss, Robin Dreeke, retired FBI special agent. What's your take on all of the Adelson murder mess?
It's an Adelson Murder Mess.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. And the mother-in-law from hell, as you said, boy, it captures it. And as we're talking about this and prepping for it, Tony, it really struck me as like, again, we
Mhm.
have another couple group of people that think hiring someone to kill someone over a child custody issue is a good way to move forward. It just boggles the mind. So I was looking at this, and it's important for people to realize, because I know we can't make sense of this, and it's sad and true, but we can understand serial killers and their patterns of behavior a lot better than we can understand this, because this seemingly doesn't make any sense, because we don't have killing someone for money, sex, drugs, alcohol. I mean, all the motivations, all the motives that we see in a lot of murders and for serial killers and all those things we don't see here. But what it really is at its core is domestic abuse,
Mhm.
hardcore domestic abuse taken to that next level. So if we put that label on it, now it starts making a little more sense. And to your question, how deep does that go? It goes deep, because when you
Yeah.
start dealing, I mean, think about that. We only see in murders like this the 5 or 10 minute highlight reel of someone's life.
Mhm.
What we're missing and we don't see is what led up to that, because as we've said numerous times, is this is a life arc of behavior that's culminated in this person thinking a way to solve a problem of something that shouldn't be as traumatic as they've made it, of child custody issues. They're solving it with a murder for hire. That makes no logical sense. But then again, we're not dealing with logical people. So you can only imagine the mess that is going on in that family leading up to that.
Well, the fact that you have a whole family that seems to be involved in this, obviously, Charlie and his mom have been the only two that have been charged as of right now. In terms of the family circle, we of course have the hitmen who've already been charged and convicted. Uh, the way that you have a family that is able to go along with an idea like this and think, oh yeah, that makes total sense. A hit on someone, because that happens all the time in real life. It
Right.
doesn't. It never happens. That's just not how the world works. But them all just think that we're not going to get caught for this. I mean, what is that? Is that just the narcissistic abuse and the narcissism of the mother that over the years of bringing up these children who are now adults, just apple not falling far from the tree, and their prism being very similar, very much blinders on of we can get away with pretty much anything.
Yeah. When you establish a pattern of what normal looks like in someone's life of crazy,
Hmm.
it becomes part of that crazy. And again, not licensed psychologist here,
Yeah.
so I don't want to talk out of term. But at the same time, though, we've mentioned it on one other case a while ago. You can kind of see some potential of what's called trauma bonding.
Hmm.
Trauma bonding, when you have domestic violence like this, which is most likely going on, because that's what, when you're hiring someone to kill someone that you're related to, that's hardcore domestic abuse to its extreme. In order to get someone that's been abused along the way to not run away, is they do a thing called trauma bonding, where you get some, what cults do, where they love bomb you and they give you all the attention, and they slowly escalate the negative attention and the abuse that drives you away. And as they're walking away, then they love bomb you to bring you back in. And so they get you addicted to the feel good moments, rationalize in a way the bad moments. And
Hmm.
so thereby you can cascade trauma bonding with bad problem solving, with rage issues, and you wind up with a mess like this. But I'd be interested in seeing how much of that was going on. I'd be curious, but I think it probably was.
I'm wondering, will there be more members of this family facing charges in the near future? What are your thoughts on that?
The first thought I had on it was I don't know about charges, but it'll be interesting, kind of like the Murdoch trial going on, well, potential retrial with Murdoch. He's got a network around him that supported him and maybe still supported him because he had these tendrils long and far because of who he was, his personality, his family name, and all these things, where he maybe trauma bonded some people to him
Sure.
or through his charismatic personality, whatever it is. And once that kind of flips the script and now he's the bad guy, you might see, people, there might be coming out against Murdoch because they feel safe to do that. Maybe, maybe not.
Mhm.
But in the case of this, instead of someone that might be also charged, which is definitely possible because if she was able to manipulate people to be in a co-conspirator with her that we're not unaware of, there might also be a lot more witnesses too that
Yeah.
can speak to the plans that they're aware of, but now they feel safe to actually voice it. So it'll be, I think there's going to be definitely more information and data that'll come out that we're unaware of right now, as is in all cases, because we're not the prosecutors with all what we have. But I think when you have someone that got that kind of a bigger personality, that it's impacted a lot of people.
Without a doubt. And when you look at the optics of this, one of the first people you would think that would be looked at, and maybe she has been, I would assume she has been, is Wendy Adelson, the actual ex wife of Dan Markle, the victim here. In almost every other case, that's the first person we're looking at. If someone is murdered, well, what is the motivation here? Did she want this sort of thing to happen? Or, I mean, in this case, it looks a bit more complicated than that. This isn't quite the Mario Saldana, Shanna Gardner Fernandez type
Right.
case where I don't know. I don't think. I mean, in that case, I don't buy that it was the worst Mother's Day present ever. Hey, I went and killed your ex. This, it seems more like the will from what we know in those audio tapes of the mother speaking, very much the will of the mom. Mom wants the grandkids here. Mom wants her own kids near her. All of that. And she seems to be able to go to any lengths to do so. I'm just wondering how involved Wendy was in any of this, if at all, or if this was one of those things where she's living her own life, she's moved on, and mom hasn't, and she's out to take that sort of revenge.
I'm wondering too. My rule of thumb is when cases like this pop up and we really are scratching our head more than we normally do, it says that we really have not enough data to really say, I wonder.
Mhm.
Because when this one popped up, I'm like, I don't get it. And if I don't even have a clue on where to start on some of these people, it means there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with this family that'll come out in the prosecution and the defense on it that I think will be pretty intriguing and more importantly, or more noteworthy. I think it's going to be incredibly sad and tragic.
Mhm.
I think there's going to be a lot of people involved in this that you're going to feel bad for. At the same time, you're going to not feel bad for because they're going to be traumatized. They're going to have done probably behaviors that are abhorrent, but it's the whole walk a mile in someone else's shoes, go through the trauma that they've been through, and it's just a rough situation because I think it's going to be a lot of crazy.
So far, no charges have been filed against the father in this, Donna Adelson's husband. But one has to assume he must have some idea what's going on when he's trying to board a plane to Dubai, and just for the hell of it. What sort of charges do you think we will likely see at least there? I can't believe that he was completely in the dark on all of this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first, again, not a prosecutor at
Yeah.
all or an attorney, but I think conspiracy and knowledge of and wittiness of all this is going to be rampant. I think that's what we're going to be looking for. So they're going to be going through phone records, they're going to be going through text, they're going to be going through a lot of digital data to try to understand and make the connectivity and the knowledge level that everyone had. And then come up with a motive as to why they did things they did to they're going to try to rope in as many people as they possibly can,
Mhm.
and then it's going to be them talking to their defense attorneys, kind of rational away everything that's going on. It'll be interesting how many fingers start pointing at the mother-in-law as the henchpin, kind of like Chad's pointing at Lori
Yeah.
Daybell, saying, "Hey, it's all her fault. Yes, I was a bad person, but she made me be bad." I think we might see that here.
One may have to wonder. I wonder if these conversations have already begun with investigators and the rest of the family of basically flipping on the mom of maybe you did know about this, not necessarily were cool with it, but your family members, it is what it is. I'm kind of surprised that initially with the Charlie Adelson trial that more weren't charged to begin with to try and get family members to flip on one another. But then in this case, I mean, certainly the children could flip, but you do have the issue there of husband and wife, and neither would necessarily have to testify against each other, correct?
It's interesting though too, isn't it? How
Yeah.
old's the mom?
73, I believe.
So if they were just not bad problem solvers and actually had some level of intelligence in here, they might have potentially pre-planned having it all fall on her just in case it did go south because she doesn't have as many years in front of her as the other people do.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. She was talking about suicide as a possibility of an exit here as well. I guess, I mean, and that in itself also, uh, in this context, kind of one of the ultimate narcissistic moves of I'm going to go down for my family, but it's really a problem that was all created with that person to begin with.
Yeah. So that's why it'll be really interesting what they're able to flesh out.
Yeah, without a doubt. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.